Hey everyone, today is the fifth video we are doing in our vibe coding series. And as you know, till now we have done four things. One, we started with learning how to do vibe coding as marketeers by using two strategies. One was with Lovable and the other one was a combination of VS Code and ChatGPT. And then we built a wiki chatbot using Lovable. After that, I did a video on how you can make the best out of the free credits that you get on Lovable, which is a problem with a lot of people who use vibe coding apps like Lovable or Cursor. And finally, in my last video, I covered how RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and vector databases, how exactly they work in very simple terms. If you have not seen those videos, or if you are confused about how these things work, please go ahead, watch them, because today we are going to build our own RAG-enabled chatbot. What we will do today is that we are going to store some data in a vector database using Supabase and then link it to our AI automations via n8n, where n8n retrieves all the information stored in the vector database. We are going to build a simple customer support chatbot which is trained on giving information around the company, the services, how to contact the company, and things like that. Before we start, there are some basic requirements. So what you need to do is open your n8n workstation, which is the website which you use to access n8n, be it self-hosted or on the n8n platform. Second, go ahead, look up Supabase, create an account there. Third is go visit Lovable, create an account there as well. And if you created an account during our last exercise, it's good to go. So there are a few things which I prepared in advance. For example, this is the information about a hypothetical company, which is an insurance provider, and it has multiple sections. For example, what kind of insurance that they have, their coverage, say they have health insurance, travel insurance, what it covers, doesn't cover, auto insurance and stuff. So we have about 7 insurance which this company is offering, and then we have a section on FAQs, the basic frequently asked questions that anyone would ask and what are their answers. And also in the end, there is a section on support and claim process, that this is how one can claim for their insurance and any support that they need, how can they contact the company. So for example, there is a support email, toll-free number, international helpline, and all those things. The company is called insuranceco.com, so we will use that as the website that we will build on Lovable, and the vector database will store all this information so that when our chat it talks to any potential customer for support or sales, it will use this information to respond. Before you upload the data, we just saw about the company and the services and the contact information and stuff. What we have to do is first create a vector database, so that's where it will insert all the data in rows and columns and coordinates as per the vectors and things like that. So go ahead, open Supabase. If you haven't already, please create an account, and this is how it will look like. It will have a list of projects. So what you have to do is just create a new project. If you haven't created any new projects, then on the home screen itself you will find this option called new project. So go ahead and click on it. After that, you just have to name it as per whatever you write. So let's say project name is called insurance chatbot, and in the password section, whatever you put there, store it somewhere else, because we are going to use this later on to connect it to our workflow in n8n. And after that, pick the region that you are close to. It's very, very optional, but yeah, select something where you live, nearby location, and then press on click new project. Create new project. So once you create a new project, this screen will show up, this will appear, and you will see this button which is project status. Sometimes it will take some time to show green here, so you'll have to wait till it processes. And while you wait for the status to turn green, what you can do is start working on creating your credentials inside n8n, the Supabase credentials. So we just start with like a manual trigger, and then we add Supabase vector store, add document to vector store. So Supabase account, I already have one account here, but you'll have to create a new credential. So you go ahead and create the new credentials there. You will see two things that you need to fill here. One is the host, and second is the service role secret. To get that, you'll have to go back to the project that you just built in Supabase. And so on the left panel, you go down to project settings here, click on it, And then you find this option called data API again on the left hand side. Just click on it. This URL, the project URL you are seeing here on and at the top, you just copy this thing, go back to n8n and paste it. So that's the host that we are talking about. And after that, you go back to Supabase, and when it comes to finding the service role secret, it's the API key. So again, on the left hand side, you click on API keys. This is the API key that you can see here, which is under service role, not n8n public. So you go there, copy this thing and paste it there. So after clicking on reveal, I just copied the key here and pasted it here. So once you're done, just click on save. And the credential texted successfully. So now your n8n workflow has been linked to the Supabase account you just created, the project that you just created. You just name it something like that as well. Insurance rack vector database. It's easier to remember later on because yeah, you can have multiple projects going on. Save on it, never, and done. So you see, after I connected it there, the operation is insert document, get many, retrieve document, update documents and all. So right now it's about inserting documents into the vector store. But as you can see, there is no file here. There is no table or anything that exists because we just created the project. There's no database there yet. So what we have to do here is, you see this docs link here, you just click on it and it will open this n8n docs section for Supabase. You just scroll down a little bit, find this link which says quick start for setting up your vector store. And after that, you see the SQL or SQL code here. You just have to copy it. So we copy this thing. There's a lot of things here, but you just focus on the first code that you see here, the first SQL code. You copy it and then you go back to Supabase. You go back to SQL editor on the left hand side, paste it there. Now one thing you have to remember is that this particular command on line 5, which says create table documents, in case you want to call it something else, say a vector database or say insurance company, insurance underscore company or anything like that, so you'll have to change this document's name here, and then everywhere it says document, you'll have to replace it with the name that you just change in the line 5. I'm leaving it as document, so I'm just going to press run on the right hand side and let's just wait. It says success, no rows returned. So that means our table should be there now. So we go back to table editor, which you can access by clicking it from the side panel on the left. Documents, you can see this document table here now. We have ID, content, metadata, embedding. So now the table is ready. So once the table is ready here, we have to go back to n8n and start uploading data using the workflow. So we go back here. Now again, we just need to click on refresh list, and this time it should show documents. Yep, we have documents here now. Embedding batch size 200, just leave it open, don't change anything here. Now, before we start uploading things, what we have to do now is that we also need to do some embedding, because the vectors that you are creating, you need a model to put the data into those specific vectors, and for that you need an embeddings model. And if you click on the embedding plus button here, you will see all the models which are available. We are going to use OpenAI's embeddings, and we will leave it at default, which is text embedding 3 small. So embedding is there, and the other thing that you need to do here is to add a document loader. So again, you click on the plus sign, just select the default data loader. One thing that you will have to change is that type of data, it says JSON. You'll have to change it to binary because we are going to upload a PDF file. So once done, just go back, and now your data loader and embedding model both are ready. Now what we have to do is bring the file to this node. And for that, we'll need to connect Google Drives to this workflow, because the file, the insurance company's data, is stored in our Google Drive, and we need to bring it to this workflow. I'll just save it for now. So just go to this node, click on the plus button here, then look for Google Drive. And within Google Drive, what you need to do is download a file. So you click on download a file node. So you'll have to connect your account using the credentials here. If you don't know how to do that, there's a video I did a couple of weeks ago, which is around how to connect your OAuth account with n8n. Just go watch that, and it has a step-by-step guide just like this video. So after that, what we are looking for is under the resources file, operation is download from list. I have saved it under, say, rag. So let me see if it has anything which is okay. Let's just refresh this list. All right, so insurance provider services, is that the one that we have? Let me just quickly go and check the file name. It says rag insurance provider services. All right, so insurance provider services, and execute. Let's see if it can fetch the file. So okay, it managed to get the file, and the MIME type is PDF. That's why we did the binary addition in the data loader. Size is 142 KB. So okay, so now we have a file ready in our download file node. All we have to do now is to add it to the vector database, or the vector store that we just created. I'm just going to press on execute workflow here, and let's see what happens. So it's downloading the file. It's giving it to Supabase. Supabase vector store, not Supabase. All right, so it created 16 chunks of the file we just gave it to this node. And as you can see, inside the table, it has created chunks of about 200. That is a batch size that we selected, 200. So it should be about 200 characters per chunk. Yeah. So yeah. So all this information is now in our Supabase store. So we can go back to Supabase store and see if it has put the information in the table. We just need to refresh it once. Oh, I don't have to refresh it. So you can see that the content is now here. It's got metadata, which tells AI where to look for whenever they are looking for any particular data, which vector it should be looking at. And these are the vectors. In my last video, I told you about how vectors work. If you haven't watched that video, please go ahead, and especially if you don't understand vector databases. In that one, I only used around 4 vectors per item. And you can see that in this particular table, it's got thousands of vectors. So that's how complicated this could get. So yeah, I think uploading data into our vector database is successful. Now what we need to do is build a chatbot. All right, so we are back into our n8n workflow. Now what we need to do here is add a chat node first, a chat trigger. We leave it as it is for now. We'll change the settings later on to make it public. And after that, we will need to add an AI agent. We have this AI agent. Let's call it insurance support agent. What we have to do after this one is that we'll need to connect it to our vector database. And to do that, we have to click on tool and add a vector database here. So Supabase vector stores. We rename it to Insurance Go database. And which account are we looking at? We should change it to insurance rag. Retrieve documents as just leave it at default. In the description section, you just write something like tool to information on Go. And table name, let's just see, it was a documents table. Limit 4. For now, leave everything as default. Right, so now we have an insurance code database. For embedding, what you can do is either you can add an OpenAI embedding model again, or just drag it and connect it to the model that we used earlier. All right. Then when it comes to chat model, we'll have to go and add one OpenAI chat model. If you don't know how to create new credential, again, there is a video I did a couple of weeks ago. You can just go ahead and check how to do that, but it's not very complicated. Just create a new credentials, go to platform.openai.com, go to the API section, use the API that you get from there, paste it here, and done. But for now, we are just going to use the existing account that we have, and the model 4.1 mini is sufficient, I think, for this purpose. Now what we can do is we can just do a quick test on the chat, that if we can, what will happen if we just start asking it questions without giving it any instructions. So let's just open chat and say, hey, hi, I need information regarding travel insurance. Can it fetch it? Okay, it's looking through insurance co database and now it's fetching the information. Travel insurance provide protection for travelers against, okay, so it fetched everything. Coverage of medical expenses up to 100,000 for emergencies abroad. So do we have this information in our database or not? Or is it just hallucinating? Do you want to check it? So 100,000, does it mention 100,000 anywhere in travel insurance? So travel insurance. All right. All right, that was under FAQs. So the maximum coverage is up to 200,000. So our database is working fine and the agent is fetching all the information. However, there is one problem that we need to solve, which is that there is no chat memory in there. So what happens is that if I continue conversation from this one, every single time I talk to it, it will create a new instance, which means that it will not remember what we talked about. So if I'm having a continuous conversation, it will not be able to do that. It needs to remember what we were talking about in order to make it relevant to the future conversations we are having with it. So what we can do is that we add a memory to it, but not the simple memory this time, because there is an option to add the window buffer memory. However, we have an option to create a memory within Supabase, which will record all the conversations, give it a chat ID so that we know who was talking to and what was the topic they were talking about. So now what we need to do is that click on the memory option here and select Postgres chat memory, because Supabase is a Postgres database. So we click on it and we just leave everything at default. So and we have context window. So one thing that you have to remember is that context window length of 5 means that it will remember the last 5 conversations. You can increase it to 10, 12, 15, 20, but then it will consume more tokens because it will be going through a lot more data, like historical data, to respond. So 5 by default is usually good enough. So how do you connect this chat memory with the Supabase account that we have? So what we have to do is create a new credential. Let's just call it insurance chat memory. So now we have localhost, database, user, and all those things. So how do we find all this information? So what you have to do is that you go back to Supabase. In this window, you see this button on top which says connect. You just click on it and then you scroll down and come to transaction pooler, because then this is going to save the transaction into a database as well, all the chat histories. Then you click on view parameters. You see the host here. This is what you need to copy. AWS 1 US East. So this is exactly what you need to copy. Copy, go back to n8n and put it here on localhost. When it comes to database, it is Postgres, so you just leave as it is. So for user, you have to go back and look at the user here, copy, because see the database is Postgres, so we leave it as it is. Postgres user is Postgres dot whatever the ID was. You just come back and replace the user with the user that you just received. After that, you remember the password that we created when we were building our project, the first project that we were making inside Supabase. I hope you saved it somewhere because that's exactly what we need to paste here. So I pasted the password that we created during when we were initializing our project inside Supabase. Then you come down. The port, this is the one last thing that you have to do, that 5432, you'll need to change it as well. So you go back to this transaction pooler. The port here is 6543. You just copy and replace this with 6543. And after that, let's just press on save and see if it works. All right, so connection tested successfully. So if you go back to, no thanks, Supabase, I just close this one and refresh it once. If you just refresh it, you can see this new table called n8n chat histories. So this is where it will store all the chat, the conversations in its memory. So you can use it to review, to see whatever the chatbot is talking about and to who with whom. So we are back here now, and let's test it again in n8n and see if it stores any memories here. So hi number. Let's see if it can fetch that from the database and then can store it in the memory as well. So it's trying to find the customer care phone number. So it found all the phone numbers here and it just responded. And if we go back to Supabase, we should have that in the histories now. So let's just refresh it again. Yes. All right. So it's storing the conversation coming from the human and also the response that came from AI. So now this is working. All we have to do now is create a website and link it to the website so that instead of using n8n chat window, we can now start using a Lovable website. But before we do that, we also need to provide some custom instructions to this AI agent that we built here, which is all the system instructions, that how exactly it should be responding and what it can say, cannot say, and things like that. And what I've done is that I've already created an instruction and I'm going to just paste it here. So you can do the same as well. You can either use ChatGPT to create that system prompt, or you just see what I'm doing, what I'm pasting, pause it here, and just use it as however you like. So in the AI agent node, what you have to do is just click on add option and add a systems message. And here we are going to replace this with a system prompt that I already created. I'll show it to you now. So I pasted this prompt that I generated using ChatGPT, and just to give it to you, to show it to you, this is what it is. We are covering tools, what kind of tools it has access to, say vector database tool. I also am going to give it access to think tool so that it can use additional memory to think about before responding to anything. Conversation rules, what kind of outputs we can expect from this chat, response style, how it should be responding, some examples of different queries and how to respond to those, and also a fallback handoff template where in case it couldn't find information, then how exactly you should be talking to the customer. So now we just have to go back and click on this plus icon with inside tool and give it a think tool so that it can think better. As simple as that. All right, so now we have the agent ready here. Let's see how it responds now. So hey, tell me about auto insurance. Let's see. It's thinking, it's going to respond. All right, so auto insurance from insurance company offers comprehensive coverage, usual features. So yeah, it looks like it's doing well, and it's also asking for, it's asking to continue the conversation. It's also asking questions in response. So this is good. Okay, so what we need to do now is to connect it to a website. And before we do that, we have to do one thing with just chat node, which is make the chat publicly available first so that we get this webhook address. If you don't remember what we discussed during our initial conversations, go back to the wiki chat video that I did, in which I explained how webhooks work and how to use that in your workflows and also your vibe coding apps. So we got this webhook. The other thing that we have to do is that mode, we need to change this to embedded chat, because once you do that, you will need to go to this link here, follow the instruction here, and it will open the whole instruction on how exactly you should do that. You have to go to cd and embed, because you will need to give this script to your Lovable prompt so that it can create a chatbot bubble on the website. So yeah, so click on this URL, the instructions here, which will open this thing. The one thing that you have to do is that this your production webhook URL, you will need to replace it with the one that we received here. All right, so once we copy this chat URL, which is also our webhook, we go to Lovable. And inside of Lovable, we have to give it a proper prompt. And I told you about how to make the best out of Lovable by using ChatGPT to create your prompts, because have your brainstorm with ChatGPT, discuss everything with ChatGPT about what you want, and then create that accurate prompt, which will give you the output you expect from Lovable in minimal steps. So as you can see, I just pasted the prompt here, and inside the prompt, again, along with all the instructions on how it should look and feel like, at the end, when it comes to the chatbot embed, I asked it to use the CDN embed that we got from the instructions earlier. I also added the webhook URL within that embed, because we were supposed to replace it. And yeah, that's it. So we just send it and see what happens. So it's building the website for us, and it'll take a minute or so. All right, so it worked on the landing page that we asked for. It has everything that we provided in the prompt. It's got all the products, why choose this, that, frequently asked questions, and things like that. It gave you a whole thinking process behind everything as well. Now, as for the chatbot, it's hiding behind my bubble hat. So let me just change it. All right, so here's our chatbot. Let me just squeeze it here so you can see it properly. All right, hi there. My name is Nathan. How can I assist you? There's a slight problem because you can't see the chat button here. And I figured out why. It was because this workflow was not active. So I had to go back and activate this workflow. So if you go back now, and for even better experience, what you can do is just publish the project, and after you publish it, it will give you a proper URL. So once you go to the URL, it will be in a proper browser setting, and there you can click on the chat bubble, and now you can start talking to the chatbot. Hi, I am looking for an insurance claim. Help me. All right, so it responded with, to file an insurance claim with the insurance co, you should notify the insurer within 24 hours through the online portal, mobile app, or toll-free support number. And these are all these steps that you can use. It's good. Okay. If you like, I can guide you on how to proceed with your specific claim. May I know the type of claim you want to file? Let's say auto insurance. So it should be going through our vector database here. And if I look at the executions, yeah, it should be working now. It succeeded, it says. So let's go back. For filing an auto insurance claim with insurance, this is what you need to do. All right, so it's responding based on whatever data we provided, but it's working just like that. And you can see the whole thing here. And also in n8n, if you go to this executions tab, you can see the number of times it was called by any workflow or the webhook. So it executed just recently, and you can go back to Supabase chat histories. If I refresh, it's storing everything here as well. So the auto insurance part, it's here where the human was talking about that they're looking for an insurance claim and auto insurance to be specific. So now you can see that in this video, what we did was first we created a Supabase store with a table where it will store the database and then also the chat histories that we link later on. We created a workflow where it will download a file, which will fetch a file which is stored in our Google Drive so that it can upload in the vector store. What you can do is you can create a Google Drive trigger here as well, where every time you have a new file getting uploaded, it will automatically add everything to the vector store. After that, we went ahead and created our workflow, which is the chat workflow, gave it some system instructions, added the memory, and then connected to the vector database with embedding, and also gave it access to Think tool. And after that, we went to Lovable to build the insurance website along with the chatbot, which is now working and also is published. And you can see it that, yeah, it's helping people out. So right now, the response is limited to the information that we provided it earlier. It cannot think beyond that. So that's why when I asked it for auto insurance, it is still giving me some generic answers about claims that you can do, because there is nothing specific about how to claim for auto insurance. It will give you response in terms of what you can do with any insurance. So you can make this file, the data, more comprehensive so that it knows better about what kind of things that you should do when you are claiming for, say, travel insurance versus health insurance. And this you can replicate for anything that you can think of. It could be an e-commerce website, a B2B website. If you are a service provider, then it could be about your services as well. So yeah, I mean, imagination is the limit here. So you can just, if you can think, you can create data. You can store it in database now, vector database, and link it to a chatbot, which can help your customers. What you can further do is you can replace this chat message received here, this node, with Gmail, WhatsApp, Telegram, anything else as well. So when people are talking to your WhatsApp, it will work the same way, that every time a WhatsApp message is received, it will go back to the chatbot mode, the whole workflow, and it will respond exactly the way that you are doing it right now. What you can do is that you can also change the system message here to make it more WhatsApp friendly or Gmail friendly if you want. If any instructions that you want to say you don't like or you want to add in here. So that was a 5-video series around vibe coding and how you can build your own chatbot. We started with a simple wiki chatbot, which will fetch information from Wikipedia. And now we have moved towards vector database RAG agent, which is going to access the data that is stored as per the information that you provide. And I will continue doing similar videos in the future as well. I'm thinking maybe something around content this time around, or maybe social listening. So yeah, stay tuned. And yeah, of course, if you like the video, please subscribe, give me a like. It helps. Thanks a lot. See you in our next video. Cheers.